You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, always free and available, and occasionally with a bonus cherry on top. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan, and this is a big cherry. National news kind of cherry, Chris, as you'll hear some words come out of our mouths that maybe you hadn't on this program before. Texas Tech softball is in the news as they land the 2023 National Player of the Year. That is big enough news in and of itself, the arrival of NiJaree Canady. But, Chris, this one also involving a national newsworthy NIL component for the Texas Tech softball program. So, wanted to join the Locked On Texas Tech fam family for just a quick minute to get into what has gone on and transpired here this week. You alluded to it on yesterday's show, and it was quite the breadcrumb, but I don't know if I knew it was going to be $1 million breadcrumb. Pretty interesting to see this play out.
Actually, $1 million plus. But it's, I wasn't sure. I'm a bit uncomfortable being the one that talks about some of the price tags here. And then I guess it's just becoming normal because I knew what JT Toppin was getting and I just uncomfortable about, and yet it kind of was fairly widespread. And so this, the same thing here. She was, I'm trying to think of like an equivalent of what this would be like out in the open market in a college space. This is, I mean, if you think about, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like a Tim Tebow type player or like a player that everybody knows in that sport and they're just out there for the taking, and Texas Tech just went out and got this player. She was by far the best player in the portal. And again, I think they just made it happen. And so what you have a few dynamics here because Jerry Glasgow is a new softball coach. Your previous coach left to go be an assistant at Tennessee. I don't know what he may be thinking now, or, he's going to be in the SEC and all that. I don't know if he couldn't get things like this done, or if it was just like if it had nothing to do with that, he's just like, man, I just don't want to be a head coach anymore. I want to be in the SEC, whatever. But the dynamic here has changed dramatically since Coach Glasgow has been on board. You and I don't cover softball much at all. I think it certainly crossed our desk, with this news, just because, as you said, this is national news. ESPN, the New York Times, The Athletic, everybody reporting that you just landed the best pitcher and maybe softball player in the country, and you did it for $1 million plus. I think you have some dynamics here. You have some. I'm trying to think of how to word this and be careful with it. You have some donors with ties to softball that have plenty of funds and simply just want to win and felt like, this isn't going to hurt them financially in any way. And they wanted to be a part of a winner. And so they identified this particular player. She was going to Stanford. However, I would tell you she's originally from Kansas, and I think has a large contingent of family, I think, in and around the Kansas and Kansas City area. So I would also tell you maybe chances are she's a Chiefs fan. And so I would tell you that Pat Mahomes got involved here and kind of, hey, like to have you. Like to, do your thing, 3-stripe life, whatever Pat would say. I don't know. But yeah, Pat Mahomes got involved a bit at the tail end of this process to kind of, push it over because I think it ultimately came. Texas and Oklahoma thought they were going to get her. No, the folks that made this possible were not going to allow that to happen. And I think it ultimately came down to Stanford versus Texas Tech. And, that's where, you have to really put your best foot forward and to get her to, because I don't think she had a bad situation. I mean, I think they were in the College World Series last year, and she pitched 2 games in the College World Series and for Stanford. And I just think this is life-changing money is what it is. And she's worth it if somebody's willing to pay it. And somebody was. And so Coach Glasgow, don't screw it up, sir. I know you won't.
I was going to say best of luck in year 1. Make your debut with the biggest softball signing there's ever been in the history of the program. And, you and I were just kind of talking about the dollars and cents, the bread, the cheese, the chips, the cabbage, the dough, the clams, and how this just sort of fits in as a piece of the women's softball world at large, like on any level. Significant financial compensation. So quite the story playing out in West Texas.
Because the folks that made this possible also.
First, today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Never sweat buying tickets to your favorite events again with Gametime. It's always a breeze using the Gametime app where you're going to find the best last-minute deals. And I love being able to scout out a view from any seat before pulling the trigger. And of course, it's always at the lowest price, guaranteed. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it begins, which means you can finish off that last beer at the tailgate at your own pace because Gametime is the place to find last-minute seats to any event. They give you the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets, but not just fast and easy, also secure and simple to use. So right now, download the Gametime app and create an account and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem our promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today for last-minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed.
The folks that made this possible also really, I think, helped get this roster well on its way in the last couple of 3 weeks, whatever that time frame would be when Coach Glasgow took over. And they really, I don't know if it's somewhere between 5 to 8 additions, and there's serious NIL money. Nothing like this. But this was a big ticket item. And so there's just I'd be willing to tell you that I bet your softball program, when you factor it all up, is as well funded as probably any in the country. And the $1 million plus ticket item probably puts it way over the top. But, NiJaree Canady may, in fact, be the highest paid softball player in the United States at any level, professional included. I don't know. I don't know. But, and let's think about it in these terms. How about this? JT Toppin, I think, widely reported, getting 1.2. So you have 2 athletes that are making $1 million plus. That's more than Tim Tadlock makes. I think that's in the Kirby Hokut price range. Joey and Grant McCaslin are still making more than that, but I think that's more than I think Krista Gerlich's making. And so there's some of the highest paid employees, if you want to use that term, on Texas Tech's campus. And as part of the, I don't know what your chancellor Ted Mitchell's making and President Skuvanik are making, but just when you look at it in that, but this is the game these days. It doesn't really matter. It's privately funded, if you will, and it's all well within the rules. And if somebody wants to make that happen and is interested in making that happen, love our sweet country and love the little system that you got going on here. If somebody's got the wherewithal to go about it that way, and that's important to them, I salute. And I'm glad that you kind folks are part of the red and black, and you are. So giddy up.
Yeah, there's no question about that. $1 million plus, giddy up. This is one of those things that I think was going to be cool about NIL for whoever. I'm glad it's benefiting the university that we support and cover, obviously. But I thought just across the board, you could see situations like this play out for programs and or teams within those programs. who are maybe not in a traditional sense the most well-funded, but if you've got a very, very motivated supporter, again, donor, booster, former player, whatever, could really impact your fortune because of this new avenue. And I'm just making the wish list here, trying to think of what else may be out there. Like, I don't know, I'm trying to read my chicken scratch, top overall rated women's basketball player in the nation, something like that. I don't know if that's on a shopping list or anything like that, but defensive tackle, cornerback, we can go through all the other positions, but it's fun when you've got the opportunity to be on that side of it. So there will be more tickets sold. That's a Locked On Texas Tech guarantee at minimum for Texas Tech softball this upcoming season. I don't have any doubt about that. Folks wanting to show up and see a player like that.
And
so
they
hopefully good all the way around.
They will make, Texas Tech will. Now, others may, I think she put out her top 6 because you're talking about Aaliyah Chavez of Lubbock, Monterey. South Carolina's in the mix, LSU's in the mix, UCLA's in the mix, Texas is in the mix. But this one, that's going to be a big ticket item, and it'll cost you more. It'll cost you more than what NiJaree Canady's making, I bet. But these are in these sports and like the position that Canady plays, that's what makes her a bit different, because a softball pitcher they can start a ton of games, the majority of the team's games.
Yeah.
And that's whereas like the right basketball player can totally change the dynamic of a team just like that. And you hate to phrase it like this, but like Aaliyah Chavez's decision could ultimately factor into what kind of long-term stability Krista Gerlich has as the coach here. Get her, don't get her. You hate to talk like that, but that when they're in your backyard, that just kind of changes the dynamic. And I know that nobody's recruited her harder than Texas Tech, but I promise you, that's already well underway as far as trying to make something possible for her to stay at home and play in the United Supermarkets arena, as a regular basis. But it's kind of odd, but fun to make the news for this kind of reason. And my phone is blown up from people going, explain this to me, like help me out here. And I from the outside looking in, you're thinking like, what is going on? Because most people are thinking like, go buy a point guard, go buy a post player, go buy a quarterback, go buy a stud D tackle or one of the more high profile sports. But you can't tell people if that's what's important to them and they've got the wherewithal to do it. And the folks doing this absolutely do, times 200. They can, they are more than allowed to go make something like this happen, and God bless them for it. And I'm glad, like I said, that they're associated with Texas Tech because they're quality people.
Probably jarring for some to see things like this, but enjoyable for others. And we're here for all of it. So appreciate a little bonus time from you today, Chris, to discuss this news.
Absolutely. This was, I got a kick out of it. I thought it blew my mind. It's fun. I understand it though, kind of knowing the behind the scenes and everything like that. But it kind of, I hope that these times continue, because I just would tell people, don't take this kind of thing for granted, because you just don't know when things like this could go away, or somebody's like, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore. And you're like, dang, remember the days when we just like went and bought the best player in the country at their position? But anyway, and enjoy it is what I would say.
And get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts, so you never miss an episode. Chris, appreciate the time and appreciate all of you being out there. For Chris, I'm Casey, and we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.